Content warning. Some may find the footage of plastic contamination in birds distressing. Please proceed with care. A man walks along a sandy beach carrying a dead bird.
This is the second longest and probably the most comprehensive plastic monitoring project for wildlife in the world. It's an important story to tell.
A dead black feather bird on a pebble beach. Museum scientist Alex Bond sits in a library.
I started going to Lord Howe Island in 2009. It's home to flesh-footed shearwaters, which is a species of seabird that's probably one of the most affected by plastic pollution in the world.
A bird sits on a rock.
These are fantastic birds. The more time we spend with them, obviously, the more you get to know them. And, they're our canary in the coal mine in terms of, the state of the ocean's health.
A bird hobbles from a house.
And there's really no other species like them that can do that for plastics. And so it affords us a unique opportunity to be able to try and understand what plastics are doing to wildlife generally, but also to these birds. So that's what brings us there.
A plastic bottle on a rock swept away by a wave. A panoramic view of rugged island surrounded by a deep blue sea.
Lord Howe Island is an island about 600 kilometers off the east coast of mainland Australia. It's relatively tiny. It's only about 2 by 7 kilometers. And it's got 2 massive peaks at the south end. It's got a reef, so it's one of the most southerly coral reefs in the world, with a fantastic lagoon. There's about 350 people that live there year-round, and at any one time there are between 350 and 400 tourists on the island as well, because that's the main income for the island.
Beneath a cloudy sky, Lord Howe Island's reef, beach and peaks.
Flesh-footed shearwaters, for some reason, eat a lot of plastic. And when we started this project, almost 20 years ago now, we thought, this would be a really easy question to answer. Because you've got wedge-tailed shearwaters, which is a very similar species, that tend not to have much plastics in them. We thought, simple, quick comparison, job done. 20 years later, we still have no idea. The chicks are in their nest for about 90 days, and when they come out at night, we can catch them and we can pump their stomachs with water. It means they regurgitate the plastics. The bird's completely fine and unharmed, and they go on their merry way.
A chick is released after stomach pumping.
That plastic is all stuff that the parents have brought back. That chick's stuck in the nest for 3 months.
Scientists in a lab. Some
things we can easily identify. So things like spacers used in oyster aquaculture, or tile spacers, look like a plus sign, which is used to keep your ceramic tiles the appropriate space apart. But yeah, 90% of it will be unidentifiable, just plastic fragments.
An assortment of plastic fragments of various colors, shapes and sizes.
So when we started doing plastic pollution work, it was really fundamental. It was how many individuals in this population have ingested plastic. It was how many pieces, and it was how much did it weigh. And some really basic things like color and this really coarse description of plastic type. So, is it a fragment? Is it a thread? Is it a piece of foam? Is it a sheet fabric like a plastic bag? But the field of plastics research has really matured in the last decade. And we can now start to ask questions like, how does plastics influence heavy metal contamination? So that was one of the first things we looked at was, birds that have more plastic in them tend to have more heavy metals in their feathers. How does plastic affect physiology? Things like blood chemistry. You go to the doctor and you have bloods taken to see, actually, this is a bit high and that's a little bit low. We did the same thing for birds. And again, birds with more plastic have altered blood chemistry compared to birds that don't.
Outside by torchlight, scientists clean a bird's beak. A woman with a backpack walks through a forest, then along a beach.
We've got a pretty standard routine. So everyone's up at about 6 in the morning. We have a rota to go and check the beaches for beach birds. Sometimes birds will fledge or leave the nest at the end of, overnight, and they won't make it, and they'll be washed back in on the beach. So we do that first thing. We collect them all, the ones that are dead, the ones that are alive. We come back to the research station. That's when we typically have breakfast. And then we start processing and necropsying or doing autopsies on the dead birds from the beaches or anything that we found the night before. This involves measuring, weighing the birds. If they've been found beached, we'll often sample internal organs as well to look at their health. will take the plastics from their stomachs, and that will all get weighed and counted and enumerated and classified. It can take 15 minutes to do that if we only have a couple of birds. In some years, that process will take us 7 hours because there are so many birds on the beaches in the mornings. We might process some samples from the night before. We typically have dinner about 5 o'clock, 5:30, because then we're into the bird colony about 7 o'clock. So these birds are active at night. So we go just after dusk, set up our little station under a fantastically big banyan tree where we will catch the chicks when they come out to fledge. They're just sitting on the colony floor. They'll get a metal ring on their leg, they'll get weighed and measured. We'll count the plastics in them. We might take a feather sample or a small blood sample, and then we'll let them on their way. We'll do that for between 2 and 3.5 hours or so. And then it's back to the research station, processing any time-critical samples that we have.
A long tube removed from the mouth of a bird, which regurgitates chunks of plastic.
Any plastics that we have, we save for the next day to do, and then we try and be in bed by 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and then we do it all over again. It is a long day, and one of the challenges that we have is people think, Lord Howe Island, this tropical paradise, it's this is a holiday destination for a lot of folks in Australia. You must be spending, you must go swimming every day, you must have the best time. It's like we're properly working 14 to 16-hour days for about 2 weeks on the trot.
In the lab, feathers are placed in the envelope. Plastic fragments are weighed. Alex filters liquid containing plastic fragments into a beaker.
For us, we've been doing this for 15, 20 years. It takes a lot to make us shocked or react. We have literally seen it all.
Outside, Alex dissects a dead bird's stomach.
But when we have new folks come out to the island, it can be a very visceral experience. So we talk about it a lot because that's incredibly important. It is emotionally exhausting work because you are doing this for so many days on the row, in a row, and it can literally be that's all you do for 2 weeks.
He extracts plastic fragments from the bird's stomach with tweezers. At sunset, he walks along a sandy beach.
What I would desperately want to happen in the next 20 years and what will happen in the next 20 years are two very different things. If we stopped all plastic production today, plastics would still increase in the world's oceans for another 50 years. Every piece of plastic that's ever been made, very few exceptions, still exists somewhere in the world today.
In the lab, he sorts through plastic fragments.
It is not going anywhere. It's a marker of a geological epoch, the Anthropocene. And at the moment, we're arguing about how to clean it up. And for me, that's like going to the emergency room at a hospital or A&E with a massively gashing head wound and having discussions with the nurse about the best products to clean up the floor. These once it's out in the ocean, in the environment, that's last step, really. Because we can clean up and clean up and clean up and clean up, but if we don't turn off the tap, it's still going to come.
Beneath a pink sky, plastic waste litters a beach. Film credits appear over footage of the littered beach.